Hi, I'm Chris Vogel, Director of NXTGEN Pastors. Thank you for this time being able to tell you a little bit more what NXTGEN is and how it may help you. First, though, a little bit more about me and how I arrived at this place. Well, I've been up here in Wisconsin for the last 33 years. I came up here in the late 80s to pursue a PhD in the New Testament because I always had an interest in developing, nurturing young men to help them go into the ministry. In that process, as I was writing my dissertation, the Lord made it quite clear to me that I'm a complete idiot. I've never been a pastor. And so I began a journey of planting and pastoring Cornerstone Church out in Waukesha County, Wisconsin, just west of Milwaukee, from 1992 till 2018. And in those 26 years, spent a lot of time helping younger men as they would begin their work in the church. Well, that then led in 2016 to an opportunity to start a program that we called up here in Wisconsin on Wisconsin Network. It's a church planting network, but also with an understanding that it's not just getting the proper theological basis for men to be engaged in ministry, nor just giving them the necessary on-the-job training, but it is the character formation. Well, we started with 4 guys back in 2017, but now in the last 3 years, it's grown to about 23 men who are part of this program here in Wisconsin. Well, because of that interest, in 2018, started NXTGEN Pastors. It was an outgrowth of what was taking place in the On Wisconsin program to become more of a national opportunity. And so, at this point, we have about 20 cohorts all around the country, meeting different needs in different places. Well, to describe this a little bit more, and also now I am the Director of Ecosystem Development for M&A, really inculcating some of the same thinking in the context of what's happening here in Wisconsin, what's happening nationally, but how can we bring this opportunity into presbyteries themselves. Well, there is a challenge in development. I hinted at it a little bit. That is, when we're talking about developing pastors, there are a great number of really good academic options out there. We have good seminaries providing opportunities both in brick and mortar, but also in hybrid. We also have churches that are looking for men who would be able to serve in those capacities, doing internships, apprenticeships. The on-the-job training is very critical for pastoral development. But the integration of these two is, I think, quite rare. That is, taking the academic and on-the-job, the missing component to both of those often is like the third leg of a stool. That is, the character formation. And I believe that takes place best in a mentored cohort, whereas the on-the-job with a supervising pastor, the seminary, and the professor are rightfully so hierarchical, authoritative relationships. A mentored cohort, though, is something a little bit different, in which the mentor can speak into the life of not just one young man, but able to develop the bonds that are necessary for pastoral health. And so, with NXTGEN, we call this the NXTGEN cohort. And what is a NXTGEN cohort? NXTGEN cohort really seeks the formation of lifelong pastoral relationship bonds that is then always lived out in a safe community, while providing the tools necessary for handling all the stresses that come up at us in ministry. We do this while leveraging the benefits of a solid academic education. NXTGEN doesn't provide that part. That is the option, the opportunity for the churches and the presbyteries, the men to determine what is their best option for that. But this cohort, though, is always under the guidance of a seasoned pastor, a seasoned mentor. Now, throughout this, I've been talking about mentored cohorts and soft skills, character formation. Now, when we talk about character formation, NXTGEN is based, much of its work, on what came out of the Lilly Foundation when they did their work, I believe, some 20 years ago on sustaining pastoral excellence. And out of that, there is a book that some of you may be familiar with. It's called Resilient Ministry, by Bob Burns, Tasha Chapman, Donald Guthrie. At that time, all at Covenant Seminary. They did something called the Pastor Summit, bringing pastors together, and were able to clearly identify what are the places in which pastors don't prosper, or where do they flourish. Now, obviously, we have a high respect for our academic and our theological foundation. But most often, almost always, the problems occur in these areas, in what we call the soft skills, in spiritual formation, in soul care, in emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, and marriage and family leadership. So when we look at all of those, that's where the issues often are. And so, using that as the foundation for NXTGEN, we have developed right now up to 23 modules. Each one of the squares you see here is a one-day event, usually takes about 6 hours. And in that time, we walk through each of these over a period of time. Now here in Wisconsin, our guys meet about once a month we have two different cohorts because of the number, it's grown so large, that deal with these aspects. And again, it's wanting to see this as a holistic aspect. If you're dealing with time management under leadership, that affects your marriage and how your spiritual formation, your cultural intelligence is going to speak to how you deal with time as well. So we want the guys to see how all of these are interrelated in a group setting. And so when we talk about a NXTGEN cohort, wanting to understand what that really is, it is meant to be a gospel-guided relationship between an experienced pastor and those seeking direction. And all the while, you're focusing on those soft skills with a view to pastoral health. Now, while NXTGEN grew out of desire to help younger men prepare for ministry, the intent is not to stop there. This is not just while you are in preparation for ministry. Pastoral health is always lived out in community, and therefore we'd like to see these cohorts continue to grow and morph so that all of us, as opportunity is provided, are part of a cohort. I talk about formation, development, and renewal cohorts. It's all the same material, but it's a process which one goes through. The formation is really looking at the academic preparation. The development is those early years, post-seminary through about year 3 or 5. Anything beyond that, when we realize we can't do it ourselves, that's renewal. That's where we all ought to be ongoing throughout ministry. And each of these have some particular aspects to them and how they are formed and related. You can see what's involved there. The ones in formation are often very receptive. Guys in development stage usually kind of think they've got this for right now. Those of us who've been in ministry realize often through isolation and adversity, we can't make it on our own. And so I think it's really important as much as we can to begin in that early stages, but to have opportunities in an ongoing fashion. And so, what does this mean for you? What are the benefits of a NXTGEN cohort? Well, first, great benefit to you is the fact that you can be equipping pastors in your own context, training them, mentoring them, making disciples that will go beyond your own ministry, part of a legacy. It also is a means to empower your presbytery to develop those indigenous pastors that are from there that want to stay in their community, in the church, but with a view to pastoral health and longevity. And so, if you are interested in being part of a NXTGEN cohort, I'd encourage you to talk with me a bit more. I would love to answer any questions and even walk you through the website to show you what it looks like and help you be able to reach the next generation of pastors.